Hi everyone, and welcome to the second presentation covering Chapter 2, Identifying Instructional Goals Using Front-End Analysis. The purpose of this presentation is to go through the Dick and Carey material found in Chapter 2, and this should help when you are working on Assignment 1, which involves the project proposal and goal analysis. So we're all about identifying the goals in this chapter, and we'll be conducting and you'll be reviewing what it means to create and define a performance analysis, the needs assessment, and ultimately writing the instructional goal. By the end of this presentation, you should have an idea of the needs assessment procedure and the 5 steps involved with that. And hopefully by the end of this chapter, you should be able to write an instructional goal. The key with the objectives and the performance objectives that you're going to be creating is to focus the material to identify the problem and the opportunities for the learner. The objectives really help focus on what the learners will be able to do following the information that they're presented. And then the objectives will aid focus on the control in which the new information and skills will be applied. So the key word there is focused. Focused is key. You want to be laser guided, laser sighted, and looking at the key ideas that are identified. That's all you're trying to do here is just look at the needs and find out what's the appropriate means to get there, to get to the outcome. If you see, we're only looking right now in the first step of the Dick and Carey model, the identification of instructional goals. We haven't quite gotten to the content analysis or the entry behaviors yet, so we're really focusing just on the identification of instructional goals here. So what is a goal? Just by definition, the goal statement is a clear statement on what the learner should be able to do. So what do you want them to do at the end of this? Instructional design is all about predictable outcomes. This is similar to life. You need clear direction on where you're going. So with instructional design, you want to have a clear direction of what should be done and where you're headed. To identify the goal, there's a few things that you'd want to do. You'll want to contact the subject matter expert, and that's going to be the stakeholder, the person who you're designing the instruction for. The instruction might not be for you, so you're going to need to talk to the person that you're working with. You're going to want to look at the standards, the content outline, whatever those curriculum standards may be, Common Core, the performance standards for the job if it's not instructional. Are there any mandates? Are there certain things that you have to do? Are there certain goals that have already been established that you have to hit? And then the performance technology and how are you going to measure the learner performance? You'll also want to conduct an intervention analysis. Things that you'll want to consider would be the gap analysis. That's Major and Pike. The last slide of this presentation will show you a little bit on the gap analysis. You'll probably have conducted some sort of survey data, so you know what the institution's like, archival data, interviews, and then qualitative research. So hopefully by doing this intervention analysis, you find out what the real need is. Is the need instructional by nature? Is the thing that you're trying to solve, the outcome, instructional? Excuse me. So to determine the instructional need, you have to determine if the problem is instructional or not. So non-instructional problems are still problems, but if it's a non-instructional problem, could you still get to your outcome? When you find the information, when you're conducting your needs analysis, you're going to want to talk to a variety of people, as you can see there, from the experts in the field, the students that you're teaching, to the designers, other designers, the client itself. You're going to want to branch out and investigate a little bit before you begin doing anything. So how do you begin the process? Well, we're going to be getting into Gagnier's domains of learning as a guide to see what the needs are. Is it a cognitive need, a motor, psychomotor skill? And Ideally, the goals analysis will include what the learner should learn and how they'll most efficiently learn to perform this skill within the goal. We also conducted an instructional goals analysis for efficiency to help ensure that we have included important skills and knowledge, and just as important, excluded costly extraneous material. So you're doing this up front to save time in the long run. You don't want to waste time, energy, money on things that you don't need to do. So the needs assessment is basically your plan for gathering the information about a problem and using that information. You want to gather this stuff, this material, to propose a sound instructional solution. So you're identifying the problem, and then here's the solution. You also want to be able to locate the gaps or the areas within the organization or the group of learners where where something is missing. And you're going to identify discrepancies between current outcomes and the desired outcomes for the organization. So ideally, you're seeing what you have and where you need to go in this needs assessment. The need assessment has 5 components. Your book talks about all 5, and we'll just briefly go through them here. And we're going to focus more on 1 and 2 right now. So the state the problems, state the problem will be the first one. And the need statement is a statement of what is needed to achieve the organizational goal. You're going to write this out. You're going to figure out what the need statement will be for your learning that you're going to be creating, the lesson you'll be creating. The book will guide you through this, and it's pretty straightforward, but you're basically creating the statement of what's needed. You'll gather the information. Do you need non-instructional solutions? As we said before, non-instructional problems are still problems, but you'll need to identify those. You'll be gathering data points, and when you're gathering this data, this step here helps try to determine if there's an instructional problem, according to Major and Pike. So are there non-instructional problems that you have to identify? Well, that's what you're going to be looking for in this section. So the identification of discrepancies, once you have your goals set, you're going to set a performance for each goal. You're going to assess current status for each goal. Where are they at? Where's the person, the group, the organization at? And then define the problems as necessary. When you're identifying the gaps, you have to look at where the organization is, the actuals, and then what are the optimals? Where do they want to be? Now, if you find that where they're at and where they ought to be are different, we're going to call that a discrepancy or a need, and you would identify that. Fourth, you'll list and clarify needs. This means identifying the needs through the data collection, and you'll prioritize which ones are important and which ones aren't so important. So you're looking at what's already done and trying to clarify what you need to focus on. When you're clarifying the needs, you're going to want to write down the needs, and then brainstorm the behaviors that determine the need achievement. So you pick out the most indicative behaviors, the most relevant things, and that's what you're going to focus on to get to that behavior and ultimately evaluate the results. When you're prioritizing the need, this is when the brainstorming probably comes into play. Maybe you get a piece of chart paper and you list the needs in ranked order, and when you're working with the stakeholders, you get the group consensus of what's the most important idea is. You want to kind of visualize it. You want to see it and get with the stakeholders to understand what the need may be. You'll accomplish the performance analysis in this chapter. This is the examination of the nature of the performance problems and the possible solutions to the steps, sort of the goal of this chapter here. And then ultimately come up with subordinate skills, maybe non-training skills, to get to the ultimate solution. Okay, so with the needs statement we just mentioned before, just a recap of what it is, the statement of what what is needed to achieve the organizational goals. And then as a recap, the second step would be to gather information and problem analysis. We were talking about discussing the instructional solutions and non-instructional solutions. And finally, the idea of if there's a performance gap, this is the Major and Pike information. If the individual could do it, if their life depended on it, as it says on the screen, the answer would be if it's yes, then you move to the other side of the model. If no, then that's where the training, coaching, feedback, job aids, whatever it may be, the instruction will be. So that concludes the second chapter of the Dick and Carey model. The next chapter will get into a little more detail on the goal analysis. Now that you've seen the first few chapters, you've read through them, you've watched these presentations, you're starting to hopefully get a feel on the instructional design process. As we continue, you'll see this unfold even more through the following chapters. Now, the end goal for this course is for you to use the instructional design model that we're looking at here and create your own instructional project. You will do all of these steps that we'll be getting into to produce your own project. So each of the assignments that you've been reviewing on the syllabus and that I will start talking about now all build on each other. So it's each thing continues on as you develop this final product. So your first assignment, and this is just an overview, and you could see more on the syllabus, is to come up with a project proposal. Think about a project that you could put together that would fit this mold and the criteria for what we're looking for here. So the project proposal and goal analysis will be considered assignment 1. There are 2 parts. You'll do the proposal, you'll run your idea by me, and once approved, you'll get the go-ahead to do the goal analysis. So as you can see by the slide, they're going to be doing week 3 and week 5. The stuff that we're doing now is getting you to that point to where you could feel comfortable with your project proposal and ultimately the goal analysis. The go-to place to look for information on this would be the syllabus. The syllabus not only gives you the dates of when things are due, but also an overview of what each assignment is. I've also in each week provided you with some examples in some cases, and then a template. I think each assignment does have some sort of template that you could follow and plug in using your own specific information. So the topic and instructional goal that you select students to complete should be done in about a 30-minute time period. That is probably the reasonable chunk that you could bite off for this course. So the topic itself that you should pick should be somewhat unfamiliar to you. And the reason for that is because you're going to want to consult what we call a subject matter expert, and they're there to sort of guide you through the process. So when you're thinking about what could be done, you'll want to do a lesson that is easily taught. And the one requirement, this is in the syllabus too, I'm looking at the medium for instruction, is that I want it to be a self-contained print-based module. So I want it to be something that the individual could do with like a standalone packet, working at their own pace, where you provide the resources and information that's needed to complete the task. This does not have to be for a child. It can be an adult-based lesson or activity, so it does not have to be specific to your content that you teach. I guess it could be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, and that's up to you to kind of figure out there. So that is your first task, would be to come up with this project. What would you like to do? The example that I'm providing you with is one that I put together a few years ago, and it was to learn to use QuickBooks. So I'm a high school teacher, but I chose to look at this QuickBooks example just to change it up, something I wasn't all that familiar with. And so I'd encourage you to think of something that would be somewhat unfamiliar. So when this sounds maybe a little nitpicky, but when you're saving and submitting your file to the Dropbox, I would like you to put the label it as the assignment, such as A1, assignment 1. Put your last name, or first and last name, and then the title of the assignment, just for sake of organization on my end. That would make it easier, so I'd appreciate that. So hopefully this information, along with the syllabus and what you've been reading through chapters 1 through 3 in the Dick and Carey book, will help you get ready for this proposal. If you have any questions, I'm just a click or a phone call away if you'd like to talk about ideas before you submit anything. So right now it's looking like week 3 is when the project proposal should be due. I'm not sure when you're viewing this now, but hopefully it's before the end of week 3. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.